Should the police force be defunded? No. Sociology 8, Section 2, Professor Wilkley, by Anthony Lopez, Ariel Zhang, and Linnea Nelson. Introduction by Ariel Zhang. After many cases of police brutality arising, there have been protests to defund the police. This is an issue to the communities and cities of everyone because police are there to serve and protect us. They hold a very important role in our communities and are there for us when we are in need of help. Throughout our argument, we show reasons why the police force should not be defunded. Crime rates will increase, reformation is necessary, essential programs and services will be cut. Although many people, when calling first responders, are not aided in the way they should be, there are many other important reasons as to why we do need the police force.
Hi, my name is Linnea Nelson, and I will be going over key concepts and reason number 1 as to why the police force should not be defunded, which is crime rates. So to start off, I have 4 key concepts. All were found in Merriam-Webster's dictionary. The first one is defunding, which is to withdraw funding from something. The second one is police force, which is a body of trained officers entrusted by a government with maintenance of public peace and order, enforcement of laws, and prevention and detection of crime. The third key concept I have is crime, which is an illegal act for which someone can be punished by the government, especially a gross violation of law or a grave offense, especially against morality. And the final key concept I have is reformation, which means to improve or change something. Now, moving on to crime rates. Crime in the United States is something that affects all Americans. If the police force is to be defunded, programs and services will be cut, training and equipment will have a lower budget, and police response time will significantly decrease. With all these consequences, we will notice the trend of crimes start to rise. I included a graph on the right-hand side, which I will go into more detail a little bit later, but people will not have access to the police department during emergencies or accidents without funding to these services. We will notice people will seek protection and purchase firearms and weapons to protect themselves, which can increase crime rates. Crime rates will also increase due to the lack of supervision and laws being enforced, meaning without boundaries and civilization will take a turn for the worst. Many will act out, break laws, commit crimes because no one is there to stop them and enforce the laws. Since 2020, we have had the all-time low crime rates since 1990s, and this is because improvements within our justice systems that we've made throughout the years. So the graph shows the trend going downwards, which is crime rates for each specific crime since the 1990s. The source goes on to explain that not all crime is reported, but also explains that without a strong justice system and keeping the improvements we've made, the crime rates will jump to an all-time high again. And I go into further detail on the next slide, which is a graph that shows the 2006 to 2020 violent crime rates compared to officer staff count. You'll notice as the amount of police officers, which is the red line, decreases, the violent crime rates, which is the blue line, increases. So around 2017, you'll see there was a drop in officer count, and right as that happens, the blue line, which is violent crime rates, takes a jump and increases, and then as soon as we get officer count back up to around 2,100 officers, the crime rate decreases again. So this proves that if we have less funding and less police officers, the violent crime rate will increase. That's why funding to the police department is so important. The last slide I have for you is public safety. Public safety is a huge concept for American citizens, and people like to know they will be safe in their homes and at work. If the police force was to be defunded, crime rates will increase and the public will soon feel unsafe. Without trained and prepared police departments to come and protect and serve in emergent, dangerous situations, people will soon realize how dependent we are on our police officers and our police departments. Police officers do not make the laws, rather enforce them, which is an important point to note because defunding the police force will not fix the problem, it will add to the current problems. For example, if you had an emergent situation and needed to call 911 or the police department, the response time would be delayed due to lack of funding and no money to support those services. Public safety, in turn, will be compromised if the police force gets defunded, and there will be devastating consequences when trying to ensure public safety. Thank you.
Reformation. The police force should not be defunded. Better yet, they should be reformed. Reformation has been known to improve things and places in our daily lives. With that said, we have found reformation as an alternative to defunding the police. Reformation will be used to improve the police force from what it is now. The police force now is not at its best due to their recent conflicts with protesters in regard to police brutality. However, our communities and neighbors still need the assistance of the police force when we fear we are in danger or need help. With reformation, the past issues will be targeted in order to make improvements and changes as needed. How can we be sure reformation will work? We have great examples in our everyday lives of reformation making progress. One place that we've all been to that has had reformations is school. There are many types of reformations done at every school at least once in their course, and one of the main reforms is discipline. Reforms on discipline tactics in an educational environment has successfully caused a decline in out-of-school suspension and expulsion. Reformation is something that has been successful to our very eyes in our daily lives and will continue to be as long as we place it in an area that needs improvement and change. Education reformation. In regard to reformation, how will we know reformation will work? Here is an example from the article, What Do We Know About School Discipline Reform? By Matthew P. Steinberg and Joanna LeCoe. To support that reformation, in educational discipline has succeeded immensely. In result to the reformation, out-of-school suspension and expulsion declined. With this one small example of reformation, there are many other reformations that have been just as successful as educational discipline. Other examples may be technologically, economically, educational, etc.
We can now move on to our third reading statement, which involves program and service cuts by Anthony Lopez. A. Due to biased idealistic views, there is a shared disbelief that defunding the police department would provide reparations for unethical treatment of the public. Instead of serving as a punishment, as many think cutting their funds would, it would ultimately negatively affect the public's own benefit and well-being. One of the many programs specifically fabricated to uplift the youth and provide leadership skills would be the first to be cut in order to stay within their cut budget limitations. Known as cadet and explorer programs for young adolescents, these services for the overall benefit of the community would cease to exist, only making them suffer the effects of defunding the police and not the other way around. There are many advantageous reasons as to why programs like Police Cadet and Explorers are useful to the public, a few being that it offers a structured, academically challenged, moral developing environment to breed leaders of the youth of America. Without programs like these, young men and women are robbed of the opportunity to flourish into bright law enforcers due to budget cuts. Going on to slide 11, it can additionally be said that, as stated previously, there are only detrimental effects to the community if police funds are cut. Programs made to help the community would be cut first and would cause a downpour of negatives. To name one of those specific hardships the community could face is the overall response time of a 911 call and lack thereof. Currently, the average 911 response time is 10 minutes. When there is an emergency, help is always needed as quickly as humanly possible. However, with the budget cuts to the police departments, there wouldn't be as many police cars on duty patrolling around the city who would have been able to drive up to the scene minutes after a call is received. Even being 1 minute late behind the average response time can result in deathly outcomes. If defunded, members of the community could put in dangerous situations where they must wait even longer for that help that could have arrived much sooner had more police cars been on patrol around the neighborhood at the time of the incident. Thus, the crime rates will escalate tremendously and members of the community would be put at high-risk situations. This directly proves that defunding the police would only negatively impose on the community and hurt them more than the officers' day-to-day lives. For proof, the graph on the right shows the percent change in homicide rate and police spending from 1994 to 2017. Finally, now on to slide 12, the conclusion. As previously stated, it is clear by many points in examinations that defunding the police does more harm to the community than people think it does to the department. When there are less police cars scouring the streets, crime rates go up. When programs like Cadet and Explorer programs are cut, leadership opportunities are abandoned for our youth. When there is a delayed response time for our occurring crimes, innocents will unnecessarily be put in high-risk, life-threatening situations. Cutting funds to local police stations will only backfire into consequences for the rest of the members of the city as examined earlier. Although many see defunding the police as a solution, it is only a band-aid for a bigger problem at hand. In this case, a temporary quick fix of defunding the police will not give back a permanent positive solution, but instead a greatly negative one for the neighborhoods. Giving them less money in no way coincides with consequences for them, but with social services for the locals being canceled altogether. Even though simply giving the police departments less money seems like an easy fix to repay their injustices, it is not a correct one due to many outcomes stated previously. In the end, the community would be the victims of this act and become deprived of the best possible police care they deserve.
Lastly, I've included our annotated bibliography cited in APA format for your review. We had 8 sources. The first one is by Capital Star. The second one is by Charles Love. The third one is by Dudley. The fourth one is Graham Lynch. The fifth one is Searcy. The sixth one is Sothers. The seventh one is by Steinberg. And lastly, Webster. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact myself or my group members. And that concludes our social issues debate presentation for Sociology 8, Section 2 by Linnea Nelson, Ariel Zhang, and Anthony Lopez. Thank you so much for your time.